The new Netflix docuseries Unreal has reignited a conversation wrestling fans have debated for decades. Is there still a line between the reality and fiction of professional wrestling? There was a time when the line was clear, sacred even. Kayfabe wasn't just a tradition, it was the code that protected the art of professional wrestling. Goes back all the way to the carnival days. But over time, cracks started to form, and in some cases, the cracks were intentional. So this is the story of how professional wrestling either intentionally or unintentionally unraveled itself, moment by moment, promo by promo. This is the slow death of kayfabe. And in part one of this part 3 series, we begin where everything started to change. Not backstage, not online, not before the dirt sheets, but right in the ring. May 19th, 1996, Madison Square Garden. 4 men stood in the ring after a cage match. Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H stood in the ring and embraced. 2 were heels, 2 were faces. But in that moment, they were the best of friends. They were the clique, and they didn't care who knew it. It was called the Curtain Call, and it broke the illusion that had been held sacred for decades upon decades. Fans were absolutely stunned. You could even hear it in one of the VHS video recordings that ended up coming out online. Not because of what happened, but because it wasn't supposed to. And kayfabe took a direct hit on wrestling's most sacred ground in one of wrestling's greatest venues. But that was just the start. A year later, the Montreal Screwjob would turn a scripted championship match into real-life betrayal. Bret Hart refusing to lose in his home country was double-crossed by the boss. The bell rang without a tap. Bret spit in Vince McMahon's face and punched him backstage. Just remember, back then, Vince McMahon was just a commentator, and not many fans knew Vince McMahon was the owner of the company. Suddenly, fans realized this wasn't just a show, there were real consequences behind the curtain. Then we move into the Attitude Era, and as the Attitude Era began, wrestlers leaned into chaos, but not all of it was controlled. This might be a very controversial topic to bring up on YouTube, so I'm going to be very cautious on the words I say and how I go by it. But Brian Pillman, dubbed the loose cannon, blurred the lines so well that even wrestlers weren't sure what was scripted and what wasn't. He pulled a pew-pew during a live event and fans were terrified. Hell, USA Network was furious. But it worked, ratings spiked, and the drama sold more tickets and more merchandise. So wrestling went deeper. Matt Hardy, Edge, and Lita's personal love triangle ended up being one of the most legendary feuds of the late Attitude Era, and Matt Hardy was subsequently fired due to this whole thing, then rehired, and then allowed to fight Edge in a shoot on Monday Night Raw. Just remember, back then, a lot of people didn't know if outside of the wrestling world, what was shoot, what was kayfabe, what was anything. So this was one of the biggest blurred lines that we had seen. This wasn't just a storyline, it was therapy with fists. A moment that some fans may forget, Joey Styles walked off air in protest, denouncing WWE's sports entertainment philosophy. And in one more of the most jarring moments ever broadcast, rookie Daniel Puder from Tough Enough caught Kurt Angle in a legit Kimura, almost breaking his arm. This was a moment that backstage, Puder learned the hard way, and we basically never saw Daniel Puder again. These weren't isolated moments. These were warnings to professional wrestling that the blurred lines were no longer as blurred as they wanted them to be. The audience wasn't just watching anymore. They were decoding every promo, every tweet, every glitch in the matrix was part of a new kind of show. One that dared fans to guess what was real and what was storyline. But playing with reality is dangerous because sometimes the audience sees far too much. In 2000 at Bash at the Beach, WCW made a fatal misstep. On live TV, Jeff Jarrett laid down for Hulk Hogan. No fight, no contest. It was all meant to be meta, a shoot about control, politics, and backstage power. But fans didn't understand the segment at all. That moment at Bash at the Beach confused and alienated viewers. It was a spectacle with no story, and it helped virtually sink WCW's credibility. And it wasn't the first time we saw this. The infamous finger poke of doom months earlier had already tipped fans off. Titles could be meaningless. Wrestling's greatest prize, the World Championship, had become a prop in politics and a chess game. And unfortunately, some tragedies reminded us that reality wasn't just a gimmick. Bruiser Brody died backstage in 1988 in the locker room. Owen Hart fell 70 feet from the rafters during a live pay-per-view in 1999. These weren't storylines. These were sobering truths that reminded the world behind all the drama of professional wrestling, dangerous business is happening behind closed doors. The craziest part about this entire thing is in 2011, the lines between reality and fiction were shattered once again live on television, on the biggest marquee show on cable. That is Monday Night Raw, where CM Punk sat cross-legged at the top of the entrance ramp and spoke from the heart. Or it seemed. He tore into WWE management, mentioned non-WWE talent on WWE program, which was one of the biggest no-nos we knew at the time. Colt Cabana, New Japan Pro Wrestling, broke character in front of a live mic. The pipe bomb wasn't just a promo, it was a complete awakening that wrestlers have feelings. It felt unscripted, it felt raw, real, even some of it was planned, fans believed. And belief is the most powerful currency in wrestling. The floodgates reopened. Since then, the lines have been blurred beyond recognition. Logan Paul, an outsider from the YouTube world, holding a WWE title while sitting filming his podcast comfortable in LA. Pat McAfee transitioned from professional football player to podcaster to in-ring talent to commentator. Feuds unfold on Instagram and Twitter before they even hit TV. Go check out Drew McIntyre's entire social media. His entire character is based off of his Twitter and the lies that he does not tell. And now with shows like Unreal, we're not just watching wrestling, we're watching how it's made. Wrestling doesn't hide its secrets anymore. It sells them to the highest bidder like Netflix. So what did we lose when kayfabe died? We gained truth and some realism. Anyways, this is part 1 of the journey. Once Unreal is released, we will do a part 2 diving into the secrets that WWE decided to release in its first couple episodes. So let's ask the biggest question we can. Can kayfabe ever come back? Or is it gone forever? You guys let me know in the comments. Did breaking kayfabe ruin wrestling or revive it? Let me know. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and put the bell on for all notifications. And join me for my watch along of WWE's Unreal live on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/MrTeshk, next weekend.